I've been waiting many months to do this series, and I hope that you will find as much from it as I have. I'm going to share a little bit today about where it came from and my personal journey, and I'm going to just apologize right up front. This talk may be one of my longest, possibly, because I want to set the context for the work that we're doing for the next 60, 90 days. And I won't go back through this again, so it'll be on YouTube if you want to review it, or folks who missed it. But I think it's important to understand it in where we're headed in this whole process about the desire factor. I'm using that book as just part of what we're going to be doing, and you'll see today what I mean by that. But I think to put it all together is so important so that we have this ability to look at things differently than we may have in the past. But before I get started, as you know, I have kept bringing these new Hubble photographs. And I'm doing it for a reason, because I want to expand your mind. I want you to expand your edges of what's possible for you. This is the latest galaxy that Hubble just found. It's 150 million light years away. 150 million light years. And you say, oh, well, that's nice. How far is that? 1 light year is 6 trillion miles. 6 trillion miles away. Now, from here to San Diego is 3,000 miles. If we went around the equator, it's not even 25,000 miles. 6 trillion miles for 1 light year, not 150 million. It takes 37,200 human years to travel 1 light year. Jesus was here 2,000 years ago. You still have another 35,000 years to go. This is the force. This is the energy. This is the intelligence that we have put in a little box and we call God. I'm going to use source here because I don't know about you, but I have some limiting beliefs around the word God and some negative things about it. You know, they would teach you, well, you want to look at God as a human or a heavenly father. Well, some of us didn't have a father that we want to emulate into a divine being, right? So we're going to use source as a way to get away from some of that negativity. So think about how big this is and how powerful it is. And just last week I talked about the galaxy we found is 13 billion years ago. This force is so big, so huge, as the Tao Te Ching says, you cannot put a word to it. Because the minute you put a word to it, you now limit it from what it truly is to something. And one of the things that we have done as human beings is we have made God in our image. Have we not? Try to make it so small that we can wrap our minds around it. It is so big and so powerful and so great that you and I cannot put a word to it. But that same energy that did that galaxy 150 million light years away is what's running through you and me. And it's okay to think about galaxies out there, but it's much more important for us to understand what this is that's running through us and how can we access it to have and to be and to do anything that we want. So what led me to this? Last August, some of you know the story and it's not important, but I had a very negative thing happen. And through the months after that, I went through what most spiritual teachers call the dark night of the soul. Maybe some of you have been there. When you challenge everything you believe and you say this just... And so about 3 o'clock one morning, I yelled out to God. And I said, none of this stuff works. Well, to be truly honest and authentic, I used a different S word. It doesn't work. I've spent my whole life, I stopped my whole career, went to ministerial school at Unity and all these things. I've been doing affirmations till I'm blue in the face and they don't work. What's wrong? And I knew I was at a crossroads that I was either going to walk and go do something else, or I was going to find something that did work. And that was the yelling conversation that I had. And what I began to do in this is I had to go back to what did I believe was true and what wasn't working. And the one thing that I knew absolutely in my DNA and my bones was that I believe that God's laws are absolute. This is the impersonal side of God, right? We have the impersonal and the personal. The impersonal side of the laws always work. How do I know that? It works here in the physical. I can go up on the Capitol, say, I don't believe in gravity, jump off, guess what? It works. Splat. So I can believe that they don't work, but they always do. So as we begin to look at absolute universal laws, and I'm going to talk about physical and non-physical. So we know the laws work in physical. If they work in the physical, we know the laws are absolute in the non-physical. And so what I've done in this process is put together not only the book, and by the way, I know some of you are having trouble getting the book. If you don't get a book, you're going to be fine through this series, because I'm only taking part of what's in the book to add to the other things that we're going to study. So I knew that to be true. But then this is the question I had for God is, then why doesn't the secret or the unity principles always work all the time? If you're absolute and your laws are absolute, what we're learning is not then. So something has to be amiss. Something's missing in the teachings that we have that allows us to do, quote, the work, but we don't get absolute results. And I was no longer willing to be half pregnant with it. It either had to work for me or it didn't work, and if it didn't work, then it wasn't absolute, and I need to go to law school or do something else. Why did I pick law school? That would be strange, wouldn't it? And what I found was my great spiritual mentor guided me, Albert Einstein. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. And I was like, okay, I think maybe I got a gem here that can guide me to something that's absolute. And that's where this study started in September, October last year. And so the question I have was, why are we not teaching and learning how to use energy? If it's all energy, and that's all there is, why are we not learning how to do this? It's not even part of the curriculum at ministerial school, so it's not going to happen in unity, I guess. Right? And as I began to look through this, I realized that the majority of New Thought teachings focus primarily and almost exclusively on our thoughts. How many of you are successful stopping your thoughts? It's called the monkey mind by the Taoists for a reason. It likes to play in the trees of your mind. Right? And every time you think you grab the hold of that thought and you're going to stop it, it goes off in there. And I'm like, something's amiss here. Why? Our whole thing is like, do the affirmations. Do them over and over and over again. Those are thoughts. How do they connect with energy? And why not? Or why are they not connecting with that? Again, something was missing. So I'm going to offer these next 60, 90 days. We'll probably go through August with some add-ons that I'm working with. And this is going to be my journey. And as anything I teach, I offer you what's worked for me, and you pick up what might work for you and let the rest be. Because we're all in a different place. But I have found that what we're going to be talking about here has really started to work for me. So first, this is my take on it, we have to understand how energy works. Second, we need to understand what the absolute universal laws are. And then thirdly, this is where the desire factor comes in, how do we practically begin to enhance our lives to go to a better place? Because my intention, my goal is to never come back on this planet. I want to get to the place when I'm finished here, whatever 104, whatever it is. I don't want to come back. I want to graduate from here. So the only way I know you do that is you got to keep growing and you got to keep expanding. The universe we now know through quantum physics is growing at 12% a year or more. They think it's now more. You and I have to be growing that fast every year, but we're falling behind. And that's part of what we're going to be going through here. So here's what I know. There's an infinite source of energy, and I'm going to use the word source, but it could be called God, it can be called the Tao we just studied, it can be called Spirit. It doesn't care what we call it, it just cares that we know what it is. And we know how, and we're going to talk about today, how to align with that. And there's this central flow of energy that goes through everything. We now know that scientifically through quantum physics, or quantum mechanics, that this flow is continual in every living thing. And it's central to everything. It's the same energy. This is the oneness piece that gets missed, I think. It's the same energy that created that galaxy 150 million light years away that's running through you and me. This life force energy flows equally to all. No one is special. And if you ever run into a spiritual teacher who tells you they're special, run like your hair's on fire. They are not. If they tell you they're some super duper healer, run, don't let them touch you. No one's special. This energy, this force flows equally through all living things. Got so excited my clicker quit work. And it's only good. And we talk about this. Well, what is goodness in the universe? What is goodness in this flow? But we have to make it personal in what it is for us. And we get to experience that as personal well-being. I love this word well-being because at the end of every service we talk about God is everywhere, right? God is all and all is well. But we don't bring it down into who and what is going on within us. Well-being is our natural state. Even way back in Genesis, it said you and I were made in the likeness and the image of what? Well-being. And if we're not being well, if we're not in harmony, if we're not in balance and not in happiness and joy and peace, we are disconnected to that personal well-being. So how does energy work? Well, I don't know about you, I want to know where the center of the universe was. You know where it is? We like to call that God, right? God's the center of the universe. Guess what? There is no center. We've been taught here on the physical plane that we have to have a center and then things run around the center. No, there is no center. Ever since the Big Bang, almost 14 billion years ago, the universe is expanding at least 12% in every direction. There's no center. It just keeps growing and growing. It's that intelligent, it's that powerful, and it's in you and me. And there's no center to it. Because this concept that we call source, or we call God, is not a location. It's not a being. It's all. It's the allness. 150 million light years in all directions and growing 12% a year. If you want a math fun this afternoon, go figure 12% of 150 million light years. That's what the fringe is that we know of at this time. And we know with what's happened with Hubble, we have no clue. That's why quantum physicists say you and I only know 4% of what's to know about ourselves, let alone the universe. So energy moves like this, in frequencies. And what I love about energy is it never dies. You don't die, I don't die, ever. No energy does. That energy from 150 million light years away never dies. We're seeing it now 150 million light years after it happened. And it keeps on going forever. So in these frequencies, as energy moves, and that's not just physical energy, that's also non-physical. We're going to talk about those two a lot. Those frequencies then create vibrations. And I'm going to use this word vibration a lot because you and I create vibrations, even though you don't know it. You cannot see them. You can feel them sometimes. But as these vibrations begin to move out from us, they connect everything, and this is the whole concept of oneness. We are all the same energy. We look a little bit different. At the end of the energy where it becomes material, that's called the leading edge of energy, where it becomes so slowed down. The same energy that's in me is in that piano, but it's slowed down to wood versus human being. Same energy, changes as we slow it down, never dies. That energy in that piano will never die, and the energy in me will never die, and in you. So how does energy flow through us? It enters from the top of our heads as the natural flow. We now have instruments. You know, this all used to be only in esoteric teachings. Most of it from the East, in Taoism and Hinduism and Buddhism. In the West, we didn't have any time for this until now. So it flows from the top of our heads and down out of our feet. It can be called Chi, Ki, Ki is where Reiki comes from, God's energy. Prana is our breath, flows through us. I use life force. It just seems better for us in the West. It all means the same. It's the energy from this source that flows through every living thing, and it flows through all of us here. And on Tuesday night, I'm going to prove to you that this energy, life force, flows through you. We're going to do an exercise Tuesday night so you can feel it, and you get to also share it with your neighbor. So out of the Hindu tradition was these 7 chakras. We now hear it through yoga, whatever. These are transformers. Just like you see the big wires on the electrics come into a transforming station. This is where the energy comes down pure and then begins to move through our bodies in the 7 chakras. If some folks who can see energy and machines who can measure energy see these as spirals, the energy spins. For those who are in alignment. For those who are not in alignment, these are all mucked up. And they don't move. It's called resistance. When you see resistance in an electrical line, it's to pull the energy down to make it less than. That's what resistance is. You and I have built resistance into our body, and in the physical, that's called dis-ease. Right? Natural state of well-being is ease. Dis-ease is when we have built these energy vortexes in our physical and our emotional and our mental bodies that slow the energy down so it doesn't flow. And it's out of kilter, it's out of alignment with the natural flow of well-being. In the Taoism, what they do is they combine these 7, and this is what I'm more familiar with working with, and I'll work with you on as we go. We'll actually do it today in the meditation. It's called the 3 treasures that we all have. The upper dantian encompasses the top 3 chakras. You know, I've always been the KISS kind of guy. Keep it simple. It's easier for me to remember 3 than 7. So if it works just as well with 3, why are we going to mess with 7? So we have an upper dantian that takes in those 3 upper chakras. We have a middle dantian, which is our heart, and we have a lower dantian, which is the solar plexus, sacral, and the base chakras. We're going to work with these through the next 60 days. As you open up these treasures, as these dantians, you will start to feel the energy flow within you at a much higher level. That's the physical piece. We're also going to work on the non-physical part of energy. Some of you who go to acupuncture, acupressure, this whole thing works on the meridian system. The meridians run through your body. They all end up in the feet. Anybody who has reflexology knows how good it feels. Why? Because you're touching every one of your organs through the meridian. It's also available in your hands. These are the highways of energy that flow through us. And finally, our auras. What are they? They're nothing but energy bodies that extend beyond the physical. As you can see all the levels there and the colors that go with it. We're going to work with these too, because the universe that you're responsible for is all of that. All of that beyond you in your aura, your energy field, is your responsibility, because where that very end of that aura is where you interact with this incredible energy force through your vibration. And so all of this is important. So I put it in a slide for those that want. You can get it. There's all four that we're going to be working on. Our emotions, little e stands for energy in motion. They create our vibration. Our emotions create the frequencies that create the vibrations that you and I put out. This is the first clue of what's missing in the teaching of just doing thought and words. Thought and words are important. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. They are important. The secret was important. It got 100 million people to understand some of this. But it wasn't complete enough, and a lot of people quit out of frustration. A lot of people have quit in unity. Why? The same reason I was. Hey, if these laws are absolute, why isn't it working for me all the time? And I think we're going to begin to see what that looks like. And finally, our emotions now have machines that can capture the vibration level that you're putting out. Now, this starts to push up against some old domestication, right? I don't know about you, but I was taught that big boys don't cry. And I know a lot of little girls were taught, go to your room till you can get your act together. We had training after training that our emotions were bad, that our emotions were not to be trusted, right? Don't trust your emotion. It'll lead you down. And so what we have been trained is to only think and not make our emotions important. And you're going to see through the next 60 days in this process how important our emotions really are. And we were designed with them for a reason, and not to throw them away, not to make them bad. They're very, very important in this process as we move forward. So we know our thoughts create our emotions. That's why I say our thoughts are important, but they're not the end of the story, and we've got to put it all together to find the missing pieces. So that was step part one. Step two was beginning to understand the universal laws. So we know metaphysically that 7 is the number for physical completion, right? So no coincidence that universal laws end up with 7, and there's 7 principles in the book. So I've lined all those up, and we're going to do the 7 universal laws with the 7 principles, and in 7 weeks we're going to go through each one of these. So what is the law of pure potentiality? Quantum physics calls it pure possibilities, unlimited possibilities. So it's this field of energy that surrounds us and lives through us. But as our true essence of who we really are is pure consciousness, and I call it here pure unconditioned energy. What do I mean by unconditioned? It's not been conditioned by the human mind. The human mind brings all of our belief systems, brings all of our stuff, the limiting, the lack that we've been taught, and we've watched other people. We bring that and begin to filter this incredibly pure energy through us with our belief system, right? But if you go back to where it's unconditioned, it's pure. It's the same pure energy that built the galaxy 150 million light years away. Same energy, doesn't change. And it's been called many things, the God essence, Christ mind, Buddha nature, depends what religion tried to identify words to get to this pure unconditioned. We are part of this quantum field, the scientists now prove. They call it the unlimited possibilities. Deepak Chopra calls it the quantum soup. I like that word for it. It's unlimited, and you and I can be, and we can do, and we can have absolutely everything that we believe is possible. And you say, well, Reverend Dan, you cannot be starting middle linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles. There was a day I believed I could. Didn't happen. But I can't believe today at 68 I'm going to start for the Philadelphia Eagles. It ain't going to happen, right? But whatever we believe is true, we can have and do. This law of pure potentiality includes pure knowledge, infinite silence, harmony, simplicity, and bliss. It's what you and I want to live for and be and do. It's in us, and it flows to us unless we stop it, unless we restrict it in many ways that we can do it. This whole law of pure potentiality can be accessed by being in the silence. Many of you have read many books, as I have, about meditation. And you know, you can write a 300-page book on meditation, charge $32. And then $200 to come to my seminar, and then if you want to become a teacher and a master, it's $2,000. We've had scams in spiritual just like everywhere else. All you need to do is get in the gap between your words and your thoughts. That's where the divine is. That's it. And you don't even have to pay me $2,000. Just do it. What do I mean by that? Okay, I wonder what I'm having for lunch. Gap. Settle into the gap. How long does that last? I don't know. Sometimes it lasts nanoseconds, and sometimes it extends. Go in the gap. That's pure meditation. Don't make it any more difficult than that. Now, you need to have a place to sit down. It doesn't work too well standing. Don't lay down because you're going to fall asleep if you're like me. Find a place to sit, comfortable. Do I need to have my legs crossed like the guru? No. Sit and go to the gap. That's it. Words, thoughts, gap. Words, thoughts, another gap. Now what I did when I began to do this is I set myself a timer. Because I have the kind of mind that's going, well, is it 8 minutes or 10 minutes am I into this? Who cares? It's a gap. You follow me? Oh man, it might rain. I better go get my window. Okay, fine. Gap. Go to the gap. That's all you have to do. And when you go to the gap, your mind begins to settle, your emotions begin to settle, your body begins to settle, and you get connected with what I'm talking about here. Now here's the key. You got to do it. You have to do it, and I believe you have to do it every day. But all I'm asking for is 15 minutes. Twice a day. Do it right when you get up and right when you go to bed. And it will become as much a habit as brushing your teeth. And go and sit and do nothing else but go to the gap. And your ego's going to go, the monkey mind will start barking. Well, this is a waste of time. I could think of all the other productive things I could be doing. No, that's not true. And as soon as it's done talking, find the gap. That's all we have to do. And when we do, we get connected. There's another way you can do it. One way is my favorite, is be in nature by yourself. Sit. I can find the gap so much easier when I'm in nature than when I'm anywhere else. Why? Because nature's in the flow. And you're in the flow, you can feel it, you connect. And there's one more that you can access the gap, access this pure potentiality. And that's through the practice of non-judgment. This is one of the hardest things I think human beings are asked to do. Start your day and say, this is my day of non-judgment. And watch how far you get in the day. And it's non-judgment of yourself and all others. And my starting time is 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 9:01 I fail. Already judged myself or somebody else. Get in the gap. Start over. What happened when you fell off the bicycle? You didn't stop riding the bicycle. You get back on and say, okay, that didn't work too well. Non-judgment. Make it 4 minutes. That's okay. Because each time you do that, you're getting deeper and deeper into this source, into that pure potential. So those are the 3 ways that I know that you can do that. 1 is just sit for 15 minutes. 2, sit for 15 minutes in nature. And sit for 15 minutes in nature with non-judgment. And you're going to be connected at a level you probably never have. It's that powerful. This is the same energy that built that galaxy 150 million light years away. Do not downplay the importance of getting connected to Source. That's what this whole first lesson is about today. This allness is, and our part is to bring the want-to. This is going on your whole life. And if you don't bring the want-to to connect, you miss it. You missed it a week ago, you missed it 25 years ago, you will miss it today, and you'll miss it next year. Until you bring the want-to that every day, I want to connect with this source, this power, this energy, this intelligence, but without your want-to. All of this is, and that's what I'm saying, spend the time every day, 15 minutes, connecting to that source. All right, now I finally got to the book, for all those who were diligent and read chapter 1. Principle of alignment. I love this slide. Monkey mind all spaghettied up. Alignment is bringing it all into focus. And what we're about in this process is once we learn the basics of how to get connected with energy in a different way, now we want to align with that source more and more in what we do. And we're going to talk week after week. We're going to build on this whole notion. We manifest what we want. What do I mean by manifest? Bring it into the physical. You have brought everything into your physical being and life that you said you wanted. Everything. Where you are in this moment in time. Your physical being, your state of mind, your friends, your intimate connections, your job, your house, your car. You brought it all here. Now, we can get depressed. Say, why in the world did I bring this? I mean, I know without a shadow of a doubt in my being that I brought COVID-19 to me. Because I spent every day of my weeks looking at all the charts, and do we open the church? Do we close the church? Do we wear a mask? Do we stand on our heads? My whole life was involved in COVID-19. How could I not have it? I brought it to myself because I didn't stay focused on my health. I stayed focused on COVID-19. And you know, I'm a really good manifester. I brought that into the physical like that. Everything we bring from the universe, we attract. We're going to talk a lot about that next week. We manifest just at the same level what we don't want. When our emotions / vibrations are in alignment with what we do not want. My emotions and my vibration was in alignment with COVID-19. The law said I had to have it. Because I chose it. Do we always choose wisely? No. But the law is never mocked. It is exact. It is perfect. And it brings us everything what we want or we don't want based upon our vibration. Not what we're thinking, not what we're affirming, what we're vibrating. Can you not sit there and do I am a multi-millionaire, and in your gut you're feeling like I can't make next week's bill? Guess what's coming? Not the multi-millionaire. What's coming is the vibration out of us. Because like attracts like. It's the law. It's physics. Right? So why alignment matters is we need to determine what we're aligning within us so that we know what vibration we're putting out to bring to us. Both of these, what I want and what I don't want, are considered desires in the universe by Source. Why? Because it's the vibration that it reacts to. Energy is always reacting to vibration. And we're nothing. We started out being physical beings. Early 1900s, we became spiritual beings. And then we became energy beings. And now we're vibrational beings. It matters what we're vibrating from and what we're attracting to come to us. We're going to talk a lot about this because some of the old patterns that we have learned are vibrating us to what we don't want. What do I mean by that? Well, I have folks that I'll coach and they'll come to me and say, well, I'm really concerned about so-and-so and I want to reach out and help them. And they go through a whole litany of all the things so-and-so is doing. And I'm like, well, do you want that in your life? No, I don't want it for her either. But you're focused on what you don't want. That vibration you're putting out, I guarantee is coming to you. The law will never be mocked. It's perfect. Both of these are recognized by Source as desires. We have been created by our choice, free will, to create any desire. We were created that way. Why do the absolute laws not work in the human life? Like I had that dark night of the soul about when I go and look at the perfect pine tree and the perfect oak tree and the perfect galaxies and the stars, they can't choose. They can only be perfect, what they were created to be. You and I are the only ones in the universe given the option to choose. And we can choose to focus on what we don't want, or we can choose to focus on what we do want, and whichever one we vibrate to and put out the energy for is coming our way. Guaranteed. That's why you can go to nature and connect with the gap, because they don't get to choose. They're perfect wherever they were created to be. We have two selves. A physical human self and a non-physical spiritual one. Here's one of the keys. Our non-physical self is always aligned with source energy. Now some people call non-physical self their soul. I'm trying to move away from religious language because we bring baggage with these words. But our non-physical self is in total alignment with this source that created that galaxy. And that is within you and I, and always has been, and always will be, because that's how we were designed and created. Then we have this part that you and I create based upon our vibration of what we want and what we don't want. And we bring both, do we not? I have yet to meet anyone who has gone through this life who has only brought what they wanted. Right? We have all brought what we didn't want into our lives at different levels. But here's the beauty. When we do that, we see contrast. We feel bad about it, and we have an option to change. That's the power that's created within all of us to be able to do that. If divine energy is the basis of all things, and we all have equal access to it, how is it that some people are creating heaven on earth and other people are creating a living hell? Same energy flowing through both people. And we know some who have done this and this, right? I know nobody here is creating a living hell. But we could if we wanted to. Right? Why is that? It all comes down to our alignment or our misalignment of our personal vibration to either what we do want or what we don't want. And we're gonna do a lot of work around this. It's going to become very practical, but I wanted to set the stage today. Our personal vibration is the result of our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, our moods, and our actions. Many, many people, including myself, used to do affirmations over and over again, and I had a different vibration going on underneath there. Right? That was just a story I just gave. I am a multimillionaire. I can't make my bills. Which one is more intense? in the frequency and the vibration. The one that I can't make my bills. My focus is on what I don't want, not where I'm headed to what I do want. Creation of a desire starts with our asking. And here's where we had little bad teaching. We thought asking was just saying it. Asking in the universe is our vibration. What we're vibrating to, what we're emoting is our asking for. Not what's up here, what's coming out of here. And we're going to talk about this third dantian. The lower dantian is so important. Like attracts like always and forever. This is the law of physics. It's a law of the universe. It will never, ever change. It's why the universe is held together for all these billions of years. It's why gravity in space works. Because likes attract likes. And you and I have attracted and brought everything that we have in our lives. So implementing this is coming out of the book, chapter 1. Define your desire factor. I said last week, start thinking about, here's one of the hardest things for human beings to do. Focus on one desire factor. But pick one. Pick one through these 2 months. It can be little, it can be big, doesn't matter. The principles are the same. But choose one. Focus on one. Because as soon as you begin to do that, I want you to experience the monkey mind going, well, that's not a big enough one, or that's too small. Well, maybe you don't deserve that. You're not worthy of all of that. That's what's going to occur because it happens every time for all of us. But in the focus of getting down to one, once you get this process down, you can focus on 4 and 5 desires. But what I have found for me is I had to get one and stay with it until it manifests. Because I needed to see the process before I trusted it. And if you try, my take on it is if you try too many at one time, then what happens is you go, well, you know what? Number 4 isn't coming yet. What are you focusing on? What you don't want, right? It's real easy to slide into, well, look at this. I got 1, but 2, 3, 4, 5, they haven't showed up yet. I'm vibrating, haven't showed up. What's coming? Nothing. It ain't going to show up. So that's what I say. Take one. And don't let this be a exercise. Make it real. Write it down. You say, well, Reverend Dan, I got it in my head. Doesn't count. You got so many thoughts in your head, you can't remember tomorrow which one you just said was your divine desire factor. Pick one, write it down. I am going to manifest this in the next 2 months. And I'm going to show you why that's important as we begin to create our vibration. Second one, this is one most people miss. Define your why. Why do you want this? If you can't answer this, you don't. You're just playing along with Reverend Dan's exercise. But if you truly want to make this happen in your life, you're going to define this, and it could be a list of 5 things. Well, why is this important? And if you can't answer this, you can't go to the next step of this, and that's belief. Like I said, I have a dream of being middle linebacker. Right? But I can't answer why. Why? Do I want to get run over and killed by 300-pound dudes that flash around at Mach 2 speed? Yeah. No, I can't even begin to believe that because I'm going to get destroyed. Why would I do that? So you got to answer the why. You got to be able to state your why. You got to write these down right underneath your desire factor. Number 3, define how you will feel when it arrives. Now this goes way back to Jesus' teaching, right? When he says believe, right? Ask. So we ask, number 1. We ask a why question in there too because we want to get you to the belief part that says, I know how I'll feel when whatever your desire is. And when you begin to focus on that, what happens is you begin to vibrate. You begin to put out an emotion. You begin to emote from the feeling of it already occurring here and now. Because so much of us would keep in the future. I will only be happy when I get a brand new car. Guess what? I'm not going to be happy between now and then. But if I can start to be, as that car comes into my life, I am going to be ecstatic. I'm going to be like the dude, Yeah, you got to get the energy. You got to feel what it feels like. Otherwise, don't waste your time. And that begins to be your vibration. Right? And that helps you when little monkey mind wants to say, well, you know what? She already got it. What's wrong with you? No, I'm already there. I'm feeling it. Doesn't matter. Because everything we want to bring in, you're going to find at the very end of this, 60 days from now, it never was about the desire. It's about what you emoted on the way. It's about the journey to get there. What will you feel when it's in your life? Whatever it is, and finally acknowledge this. This feeling's available right here, right now. I don't have to wait till it shows up. I can begin to feel it here and now, in this moment. And once you establish what that is, begin to maintain it and feel it day after day after day after day. Those are the 4 steps. You can be, you can do, and you can have anything that you believe you can. And we're going to continue to build on that. Christy said this in the book. Say to yourself this: I am the divine in human expression. My divine self has created me to be filled with well-being, abundance, success, love, and joy. My life is co-creation between the divine and me. I have divine authority. Why? Because you were created with it. I have the divine authority to manifest the fulfillment of all my desires, and I use this power rightly and wisely. I would take a copy of this, and over the next couple days or weeks, read this to yourself and see if you really believe this about yourself. But it's the truth. You are everything that you want to be or to have, any desire. If you can believe it, you can manifest. Let's go to silence.